The hyena incident. In 2013, a teenage boy in Zimbabwe was just walking home at night when things took a turn that no one could possibly prepare for. Out of the dark came a pack of hyenas, and if you've ever seen these animals in the wild, you know they don't wait around sizing you up or circling dramatically like you see in nature documentaries. These ones don't hesitate. They went straight for him, lunging at his face in a frenzy that was over in seconds. His nose, lips, and even his eyes were shredded while he was still conscious, every bite leaving him trapped in the kind of pain you can't put into words. Imagine lying there, bleeding, blinded, and feeling jaws clamp down again and again while you know there's no pause button, no mercy, no chance for the pain to stop. That's not some laughing hyena moment, that's a horror scene playing out in real life. Neighbors eventually rushed to help, driving the animals off before they finished the job, and against the odds, doctors managed to keep him alive. But survival came at a price. His face was gone, his identity rewritten in scars, the kind of wounds that don't just heal over time. Every reflection in the mirror is a reminder of the night he met the pack, and every look from a stranger is a reminder that he carries the marks of something most people couldn't even imagine living through. The Hornet incident. This next situation takes place in 2013 in a rural village in Japan. At first, it was just another summer day. People going about their routines, kids playing outside, farmers tending to their work, until out of nowhere, swarms of Asian giant hornets, the kind locals call murder hornets, suddenly swooped down on the town. Now, these things aren't your regular backyard pests. They can grow up to 2 inches long, with jaws strong enough to slice through insects, and venom so potent it doesn't just sting. It melts flesh, shreds tissue, and in large enough doses can even cause organ failure. When something like that shows up in the hundreds, you know the day's about to get bad. Villagers were stung again and again, some of them over 200 times in just a few minutes. Imagine trying to swat one away only to feel 3 more land on you at once. Survivors later described the pain as feeling like hot nails being hammered straight into their skin, each sting like burning fire. And honestly, when a bug can do that, it stops being an insect and starts being a tiny flying chainsaw with wings. Rescuers rushed in to try and drag people to safety, but the hornets weren't just defending a nest. They were on the attack, chasing victims down relentlessly. People who ran were followed, people who hid were swarmed, and no one felt safe until the air finally cleared. By the time it was all over, 42 people were dead, and dozens more were left fighting unbearable pain for weeks. For that village, summer would never mean sunshine again. It would always mean the day the hornets came. The crocodile incident. Up in northern Australia, a man went out for what was supposed to be a quiet fishing trip, the kind where you're surrounded by still water, cicadas buzzing in the background, and nothing but the sound of your reel clicking as you cast your line. But that peace didn't last long. From just below the surface, a massive saltwater crocodile had been laying in wait. Then, with terrifying speed, it lunged out of the water, jaws wide, and clamped down with bone-crushing force. These animals have a bite powerful enough to snap a cow's leg in half, so a human arm or torso doesn't stand a chance. In an instant, the man was yanked straight into the water. And here's the thing. When a croc gets a hold of you, it doesn't just bite and hold on. It spins. They call it the death roll, but even that name feels like an understatement. Imagine being trapped inside a washing machine, only every spin isn't just dizzying, it's snapping bones, tearing muscle, and dragging you further into the depths. At that point, fighting back isn't bravery, it's desperation. And no amount of thrashing can break free once a croc locks on. The roll kept going until he couldn't breathe, his lungs burning as water filled them, his body breaking down with every violent twist. And when the water finally stilled again, it was over. Silence returned to the riverbank, but the damage had already been done. When rescuers finally pulled him out, it wasn't a fisherman anymore. It was just what the crocodile had decided to leave behind. The dragon bite. In 2009, on the island of Komodo, an Indonesian farmer went out to gather fruit. Pretty normal day, until a Komodo dragon came out of nowhere and went straight for him. These things can grow over 8 feet long, and they don't just bite, they tear. The dragon clamped down on his arm and leg, ripping them open in seconds. Villagers nearby said the sound of the bite was like fabric being shredded, only it was skin and muscle. And the worst part is a Komodo's mouth is basically a swamp of bacteria. Every bite is like having an infection pumped directly into your body. His wounds turned black and started rotting while he was still alive. The farmer stayed conscious through all of it, though, bleeding heavily and in unbearable pain. By the time help got to him, there wasn't anything left to do. He bled out right there in front of everyone. The stampede incident. In 2017, deep in rural India, a group of villagers gathered in a clearing to celebrate a local festival. Drums were beating, food stalls lined the edges, and people filled the area completely unaware of the danger lurking nearby. Out of the forest, a herd of wild elephants came out of nowhere, restless and agitated, their trumpeteering echoing like sirens of doom. The crowd panicked, but panic against elephants is useless. These animals can weigh over 6 tons, and when they charge, it's like a wall of muscle and bone moving at highway speed. People scattered in every direction, but not everyone was fast enough. One man was caught directly in the path of the lead elephant. In a split second, he was thrown to the ground, and before he could even react, the massive foot of the animal came crashing down. Bones shattered instantly under the weight. Another elephant followed, and then another, until the man was reduced to little more than a broken outline in the dirt. Witnesses described the scene as pure chaos. Screams mixed with the roar of elephants as stalls were crushed and entire sections of the crowd were trampled. Rescuers tried to reach survivors, but the herd circled back, chasing anyone who dared to get close. By the time the elephants retreated into the trees, the ground was littered with torn tents, scattered food, and bodies that looked like they'd been caught in an industrial press. The festival at this point was a disaster site. Families mourning, rescuers shaken, and all because nature decided to remind everyone who really owns the land. The chimpanzee incident, Connecticut, 2009. A quiet suburban driveway where a woman stopped by to visit her friend who, because apparently a normal pet wasn't exciting enough, decided to keep a full-grown chimpanzee in the house, treating it less like a wild animal and more like a quirky roommate. At first, it seemed calm, but in an instant, it turned, and the scene that followed was closer to a horror film than real life. The chimp launched forward, tearing into her face with a frenzy, ripping away flesh until her features were nothing but exposed bone, then shredding her hands until there was barely anything left to hold. What made it unbearable wasn't just the violence, but the fact that the chimp didn't stop at attacking. While she was still alive, it began eating her. Pieces of her nose, lips, and eyelids disappeared between its teeth, swallowed while her screams filled the driveway. By the time police arrived, the only way to end it was to fire directly into the animal, and when the chaos settled, the woman on the ground was still breathing, though unrecognizable. Surgeons would later spend years rebuilding her body, even resorting to a full face transplant just to give her back the bare outline of what she had lost. It was body horror made real, the kind of grotesque nightmare that strips away the line between human and prey. And all of it because someone thought a 200-pound chimpanzee made a great alternative to a golden retriever. Well, if you made it this far, you've just heard some of the worst ways animals can ruin your day, and probably your whole life. That's all I've got for now, so maybe go pet your dog, stay away from the water, and try to enjoy the rest of your day.